that?
The boy that disappeared was saw the beast. So I think
You mean that for sure there is a beast because like a boy disappeared. So if there were no beast, if there was no beast, where did the boy go, right?
yes,
Like if he died, they would even see his body, but they didn't see even his body. He disappeared as if he didn't even exist. He had never like existed before. So that's why like they feel afraid. Yes, okay, very good. So now, Lena, did you read this chapter, Lena? By the way, like if we finish this one, it means that we finished more than half of the story. So we will have just only like we finished more than half of it.
teacher.
The
I think we will have grammar or not. I think the second
yeah, just like because like we're about inshallah we're about to finish it. So we can just have like maybe 20 minutes grammar every time, every day, if we
yeah.
finish earlier. Yes. So and we're not going to have like we're going to explain and so on, or some kind of question, and then you will be able to answer them. So now like I'm going, what is Amr? I don't know where is he. Maybe he's praying. Okay, so let's wait, maybe he's praying. So now Lena, did you read this chapter, honey? Did you read it?
Yes.
Yes, honey. So what do you get from it? Like anything, like after you read this one, said that you loved one character more than others, like you hated one character more, you felt like this story is not that good enough, think that yeah, it has something good. Like what was your impression?
That they felt that the beast. They felt that they saw the beast, and because they were sleeping beside the fire.
So who saw the beast? Who?
The twins
The
and
twins, seminar. Yeah, and why didn't like is it in real life, was it a real beast?
no,
No. So what was it then? Do you know what was it? You and Ahmed, do you know who was he or what was it? Do you know what it was? Sorry. It was a dead pilot. Pilot? Do you know that they had war, right? There was a war in the world, right?
yes,
Yes. So there was like, a battle in the air, and one of the pilots, like involved in this battle, died. And accidentally he fell on the island with his parachute, you know? Parachuting. He was parachuting, and he fell dead on the island. So when the twins they were already sleeping, they were sleeping, and then they got up because they sleep at the same time. They got up at the same time. They can't prevent that. So when they saw him, they saw like a parachute like falling on the island. The first thing that came to their mind that it was a beast. So they were afraid because of misunderstanding. They misunderstood it. They didn't know what was happening, what was going on. So what did they do after that? What did they do?
they went
No.
to Ralph.
Yeah, very good. They went to Ralph. And what did Ralph do?
Said that we have to stay like where we are. Maybe the beast wouldn't come.
Yes. And then what, like, did they really stay what like where they were, or they like moved? They kept moving.
Jack took them.
Yes, they have to move. They had to move because Jack didn't keep silent. Jack embarrassed him in front of everyone else, telling him, "Are you frightened?" Like he was telling the leader. If the leader is frightened, what about young children who already cry most of the time? So he embarrassed Rolf, and Rolf, went alone on his own to explore the island. They found another island attached to the island, like a smaller island, and then we're going to see what will going to happen. Yeah, what will happen? Sorry, what's going to happen? So now, concerning the first, I'm going to make it smaller. Like yeah, concerning the first, page, what do you get from it? You Lina and Ahmed, both of you, what do you get from the first page?
Stealing when they were sleeping.
Excellent, very good. This is a very good point. Like what you get from here that they were still afraid. Like sometimes a child cried out from the other shelters, and once a pigeon spoke in the dark. So it means that they didn't feel safe. They do not feel safe. They feel afraid. Children cry at night, and even they lay restlessly. What does restlessly mean? And noisily, restlessly and noisily. What does restlessly mean? Restless. What does restless mean? Restless.
Do not rest.
Yeah, you know, like when you're in your bed, but you don't feel like, you know, you don't like to sleep, and you keep moving, like, you know, keep turning, like, you know, this in this direction and in that direction, so on. You don't feel like, you know, that happy, and you don't like, you can't fall asleep. You know this feeling?
Yes.
Yes, so they do the same. They lay restlessly, like they don't have rest. They don't feel rest, like they don't have any rest, and noiselessly among the dry leaves, watching the patch of stars that was opening toward the lagoon. Sometimes a little one cried out from the other shelters. Once a big one like spoke in the dark, and then they too fell asleep. So like here we have a description of night. So at the beginning, like we have Rolf, Simon. Simon, like, you know, begged like Percival and just, you know, carried him to, yes, I'm joining us now. And then he carried him to the shelter, to one of the shelters, and Biggie hung about near for all the brave words. And the three beggars boys went together to the next shelter. So here we have Rolf, Simon, and Biggie working together, and Simon carrying a young child to put him into a shelter. But even when they are in the shelter, like, you know, they were able to listen to other, like, you know, children lying restlessly, or one of the children crying, or one of the big one, or like, you know, big boys speaking in the dark. So and then all of them fell asleep, you know, finally. And then what happened here? What happened here? Here you have other lights in the sky that moved fast, winked, and went out, though not enough, not even a faint bobbing came down from the battle. Remember this one, battle, forward at 10 miles 8. But a sign came down from the world of grown-ups. Like, you know, though at the time there was no child awake to read it. So here, this is a description. If you remember, I told you there was a battle in the air between some of the pilots. And one of the pilots, like, you know, one of them would die, and he would fall on the island. But none of the children was able to see this kind of battle. Why? Because all of them were sleeping, including the seminar. You know, Sam and Eric, they were also sleeping because they couldn't control themselves. They also like slept. So they themselves, like those, they were responsible. You know what were they responsible for? They were responsible for what? Do you remember Sam and Eric was responsible for what? Why everyone slept, you know, or went to sleep, went to bed, and they stayed up? Why they were supposed to stay up, and why they were supposed not to sleep? But they
Because
slept anyway.
The fire. Because they
Yeah,
have
they were on duty of the fire.
excellent. Because like they were responsible for keeping the fire on, right? Like it was their responsibility. Ralph, in the last meeting, he insisted that each one, except like, you know, all of them would sleep. And on that night, at that night, it was the responsibility of Sam and Eric to look after the fire and to make sure that it's on. The problem is that they were also felt tired and they slept. So when they slept, like they did, like they made two mistakes. Number one, the fire was out, almost out. This is number one. And number two, there was a battle in the air, but they couldn't see anything. You know, there was a battle between pilots in the air, but they couldn't see anything because they were sleeping. So here, just, you know, what happened? What happened? Because, like you said, that at that time there was no child awake to read it. There was a sudden bright explosion and a corkscrew trail across the sky. Then darkness again and stars. There was a speck above the island, a speck above the island, a figure like dropping swiftly beneath a parachuting, a figure that hung with dangling limbs. So now I'd like you to imagine a dead person, a grown up, a grown up person dead, and this person is like, you know, hanged, you know, hung with his dangling limbs. Like his limbs means legs and arms. The word limbs refers to either arms or legs. So like when you think like Sam and Eric was just, I don't think they didn't even exceed 10 years old. They were even younger than 10 years old. So I'd like you to imagine them alone in the dark, watching like this figure dropping swiftly, like, you know, in front of them. You know, do you think how would they feel? How would they feel? Like if you were them, what would you feel? If you were them, if you were in their place, what would you feel? How would you feel? Would you feel like amazing, like, amazed, or would you feel afraid? What would you feel? Taking into account that Simon was just saying that there was a beast, and other boys agreed that there was a beast. So that's why, logically speaking, they felt extremely afraid. So here we have in the first passage, on the first page, we have, a description of the boys sleeping, and then we have a description of explosions that happened in the sky with no one up to see it, and then a dead pilot like falling on the island. Like here we have something ironic. What's ironic here? What's ironic here? Do you remember like how the previous chapter ended? Do you know how it ended? Do you remember when Biggie, Simon, and Rolf kept speaking about like the world of grown-ups and what would they do if there were grown-ups with them, and how grown-ups are responsible, right? Do you remember that? And if there were grown-ups, like all such children will like behave and they will obey the rules. Do you remember that? In the last chapter, the last page of the last chapter. Do you remember that? And here we have grown-ups. Like who created such kind of war in the first place? It was grown-ups. So here we have this one, like a sign came from down from the world of the grown-ups. This is ironic. Why? Because like in the last page, they kept speaking about grown-ups in a very dignified way, respecting them, speaking about them in a very good way, and so on. Only to discover here that like all of this happened because of the grown-ups. Not necessarily. There are a lot of grown-ups in the world. Does it mean that all of them are logical and all of them respected and all of them deserves all like respect? No, of course not. So here we have this one. So here we have what happened at night while they were sleeping. A dead body, dropped on the island, and not anywhere. Like to make it even worse, this dead pilot, crumbled. Where did he crumble? Like crumbled among the blue flowers on the mountainside, in every high area, every high place. So imagine this kind of figure covered by his parachute and on a very high area, the mountain side. But now there was a gentle breeze at this height too, and the parachute flopped and banged and pulled. So here you have the parachute kept moving, flopped, banged, and pulled. Yeah, it's a parachute, like it has to move. So the figure with feet that dragged behind it slid up the mountain. Oh, yard by yard, buff by buff, the breeze hauled the figure through the blue flowers, covered the boulders and red stones. Still it lay huddled among the shattered rocks of the mountain top. So now we have even the dead body was moved up because of the movement of the movement of his parachute. So the parachute kept moving it up till it settled on the mountain, not only on the mountainside, now here on the mountain top. Here the breeze was fitful, allowed the string of the parachute to tangle and festoon, and the figure sat, its helmeted head between its knee. Oh, like this is really scary. Now I'd like you to imagine like this dead person, like his helmeted head, like he's wearing a helmet. He was wearing a helmet, and his helmeted head is in between his knees. So they are not 100% sure that he was a human being. They didn't see him as a human being then. They saw a helmet and they saw two limbs held by the complication of lines. When the breeze blew, the lines would strain taut, and some accident of this pull lifted the head and chest upright so that the figure seemed to bear across the brow of the mountain. So sometimes like this dead body kept moving because of the air and because of the wind. So sometimes his head is between his knees, and other times the lines and just of his parachute, the parachute like moved him in order to let him raise his head and chest upright, so that like you see like he's bearing trying to look across the mountain. Then each time the wind dropped, the lines would slacken and the figure bow forward again, or sinking its head between its knees. So it's repetitive. So like this figure, this dead pilot, like was sitting down, and because of the winds and because of the movement of the lines across his parachute, like sometimes he's his head is upright, sometimes his head is between his knees, and again the parachute made him like raise his head as if he was looking at anything, and then his head dropped back again between his knees. So the stars moved across the sky. As the figure sat on the mountain top and bowed and sank and bowed again. Bowed, it means like his head was down. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? And then what happened here? Yes, so here we have this passage is description of whom? This one, I'd like to read it quickly and tell me this is the description of whom? Ahmed, Lina, Amr, in one of you.
Yes, teacher.
Yes, this part is the description of whom?
Twins.
Excellent, the twins. Like this is the description of the twins. The darkness of early morning, there were noises by the rock, little way down the side of the mountain. Two boys, like here, Sam and Eric. Boys rolled out a pile of brushwood and dead leaves, two dim shadows talking sleepily to each other. They were the twins. So here we have the twins. So this time the twins were the first boys to see that, like, the beast. They were on duty at the fire. In theory, like one of them should have been asleep and one on watch. One of them should have been asleep, and the other one should have been on watch. But they couldn't. Why? They could never manage to do things sensibly if that means acting independently. It means what? They could never manage to do anything away from each other. Like they should sleep, so both of them sleep at the same time. They get up at the same time. They work at the same time. They play at the same time. So like here he said that like they can never do anything independently. Independently, it means away from the other. So if one of them sleeps, the other one sleeps immediately. And since staying awake all night was impossible, yeah, it's true to stay awake all the night. So both of them had gone to sleep. Now they approached the darker smudge that had been signal fire, yawning, rubbing their eyes, treading with practiced feet. When they reached it, they stopped yawning, and one ran quickly back for brushwood and leaves. The other knelt down. I believe it's out. It's out means that the fire was out. He said he fiddled with the sticks that were pushed into his hand. No, he lay down and he put his lips close to the smudge and blew softly. His face appeared lit redly. He stopped blowing for a moment. Sam, give us tenderwood and so on. So it's like at the beginning when they went to the fire, they thought that it was out. They were afraid. They were afraid because it was their responsibility to keep it on. So if both of them slept and the fire was out, so it means that they would be blamed by Ralph. Ralph would never stop blaming them. So both of them were trying really hard, were trying to really hard to like rekindle the fire again. And they were able to to make it on again. So Eric bent down and blew swiftly again till the match was bright. Sam pulled the piece of tender wood into the hot spot, then a branch. The glow increased and the branch took fire. Sam piled on more branches. So they piled on means they put in more branches. Don't burn the lot, Sam said Eric. You're putting on too much. He said that you're putting on too much piles, so don't burn it all. He said that let's warm up. It's cold here, so let's warm up. We will only have to fetch more wood. He said that no, if you burn it all, so it means that we have to go down again in order to bring. Fetch means to bring more wood. He said, I'm cold. So am I. Because it is. And then dark. All right then. Yeah, because it's dark. He said that, yeah, all right then. Eric squatted back and watched Sam make up the fire. He built a little tent of dead wood and the fire was safely alight. That was near. He had been waxy. He said that for a few moments the twins watched the fire in silence. Then Eric sniggered. Wasn't it waxy about the fire and the pig? He said that he spoke about Ralph. He spoke about Ralph. What did they say about Ralph? What did they say about Ralph? Anything. What did they say about Ralph?
That like Jack was better than him.
Yeah, just but here like they were speaking about about Ralph, that he's waxy. Waxy, like waxy, like wax, like wax. Like wax, like it's not like, especially if it's hot, like you feel like it's let's say it's when you catch it, like you don't feel like it's not easy to let it go. It's like you feel it's like the same as glue. You see, the same as glue. It says that he's waxy. So they were speaking about Ralph in a bad way. Like, wasn't he waxy about the fur and the pig? Lucky he went for Jack instead of us. Yes. He said that, yeah, lucky, it means like we were lucky that he blamed Jack and he didn't blame us. Like that Ralph blamed Jack. Yes, he said, remember old Waxy at school? Like, yeah. So here he said that they had someone also at school, they called him Waxy. So, boy, you're driving me slowly insane. Like, means that, boy, you're driving me slowly insane. And like he was, like here they were making fun of someone at their school. They called him Waxy and they were trying to imitate him. So they started laughing and then remembered the darkness and other things and glanced round uneasily. The flames busy about the tent drew their eyes back again. Eric watched the scurrying wood lights that were so frantically unable to avoid the flames. The thought of the fire first, just down there on the steeper side of the mountain, where now was complete darkness. He didn't like to remember it and he looked away at the mountain top. So now he, like, they were talking, they were having fun, they were like recollecting some memories, right? And like, Eric, like, was looking accidentally. So now he looked at the mountain top. The problem is, what is there on the mountain top? What was there on the mountain top? Hmm. What was
What's the
there?
teacher?
Yes, Ahmed.
What's your question again, please?
One question is like, the twins were sitting near the fire, and one of them, Eric, looked up and he looked away at the mountaintop. My question was, what was on the mountaintop?
The beast?
Yeah, beast. Is it real? Is like really? Is it a beast? Was it a beast?
No.
Yeah, it was a
No.
dead pilot. He was like, this beast was a dead pilot, but because you were afraid, but because of the parachute and this kind of movement, they thought it was a beast. Worms, like, radiated now and beat pleasantly on them Sam amused himself by fitting branches into the fire as closely as possible. Eric spread out his hands, searching for the distance at which the heat was just bearable. Idly looking beyond the fire, he resettled the scattered rocks from their flat shadows into daylight contours. Just there was a big rock and three stones there, that split rock, and there beyond was a gap. Just there, he saw something. He said, Sam, Sam. He said, he said nothing. The flames were mastering the branches, and the bark was curling and falling away. Bark like the bark of the tree. The wood exploding, the tent fell inward and flung a wide circle of light over a mountain top. Sam, 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 like he was like calling his brother. Sam looked at Eric irritably. The intensity of Eric's gaze made the direction in which he looked terrible, for Sam had his back to it. He scrambled round the fire, squatted by Eric, and looked to see. They became motionless. What does motionless mean?
Do not move.
Out of what?
Out of motion.
Out of fear. No, out. They didn't move out of fear because of fear. They were afraid. Not only motionless, they gripped in each other's arms. Like they were afraid to the degree that they were gripping each other's arms. Four unwinking eyes aimed and two mouths open. So I just like to imagine these two boys. They almost the same. They looked the same. Their mouths were open and their eyes were unwinking, and they were gripping each other, and they were motionless. Far beneath them, the tree of the forest sighed, then roared. The hair on their foreheads fluttered, and flames blew out sideways from the fire. 15 yards away from them came the blobbing noise of the fabric blown open, the parachute. They saw the parachute. The parachute was about only 15 yards away from them. Neither of the boys screamed, none of them screamed, but the grip of their arms tightened and their mouths grew big, it means that they gripped each other even tighter, and they opened their mouths even more. For perhaps 10 seconds, they crouched like that, while the failing fire sent smoke and sparks and waves in constant light over the top of the mountain. They were afraid. They were totally afraid because they thought that it was a real beast. And believe me, if we were in their position, we would have the same. We would have the same feeling. We would have the same feeling. So this one, I don't think is like exaggerating anything. The author was like 100% like precise. Here we have this one. He saw this one, though they had out one terrified mind. They have one terrified mind between them. They scrambled away over the rocks and fled. Fled means they ran away. Ran away to whom? Here. They ran away to whom? Like what happened here, Amr? What happened here? Where did they go?
Ralph.
Ralph. So I felt happy that they went to Ralph. Like, did you expect them to go to Jack?
No.
So it seems till now Ralph is the leader. Till now, Ralph is the leader. Yeah, we finished half or even more than half of the story, but still now Ralph is still the leader. So that's why they went directly to Ralph. Ralph, what was Ralph doing at that time?
He was sleeping.
He was dreaming. Yeah, he was thinking. He was sleeping. He was dreaming. He had fallen asleep after what seemed hours of tossing and turning noisily among. Yeah. So do you know? Have you ever went to bed and you couldn't sleep at all?
Yeah. Yes.
Was it that? Does it feel well? Does it feel good?
No.
So do you think it's a short time? I mean, like, do you think like if you stayed in bed maybe for an hour and you couldn't sleep, do you think it's just 1 hour, or you feel like it is maybe 3 hours or 4 hours?
100 hours.
Yeah, and there's some people think that, all the night I couldn't sleep all the night. I kept moving and tossing around, and it could be only 1 hour. Like, see, he said that he had fallen asleep after what seemed hours of tossing and turning noisily among dry leaves. So he couldn't sleep easily. He couldn't go to bed easily. He kept moving and tossing and turning around among the dry leaves till he slept. Even the sound of nightmare from other shelters no longer reached him, for he was back to where he came from, feeding the ponies. Yeah, he was dreaming a very good dream. You know, he remembered when he was like, with his father, he was feeding ponies means small horses with sugar over the garden wall. Then someone was shaking his arm, telling him that it was time for tea. So he was badly, deeply dreaming. He was dreaming, like he thought that he was at home feeding his small horses with sugar, and someone is asking him for tea. But in real life, like, it wasn't someone asking him for tea, it was Sam and Eric woking him up. Ralph, wake up, wake up. The leaves were roaring like the sea. Ralph, wake up. What's the matter? What's the matter? We saw, like, both of them, the beast, Blaine. Who are you? Like, now the Ralph, like, who are you? It's the twins. We saw the beast, quite Biggie. Like, now he asked for Biggie because remember, he trusted the mentality of Biggie. The leaves were roaring still. Biggie bumped into him, and that wind grabbed him as he made for the opening of molting stars. Morning stars. You can't go out, it's horrible. You can't go out, it's horrible. Biggie, where are the spears? Like, now, Biggie, the first question, if it is real beast, so the first thing that you have to do is to have your own weapon, and your weapon was the spears. So you have to have the spears. I can hear the, like, quite then, lie still, like, just, lie down. They lay there listening at first with doubt, then with terror to the description of the twins breathed at them between bouts of extreme silence. So now they were listening to them, Biggie and Ralph. They were listening to the twins. So the twins at the beginning, they were doubting them, doubt. And then it was terror. They were really afraid because of the description of the twins. Like, they kept silent and then they started describing what they saw. Soon the darkness was full of clouds, full of awful unknown and menace. Like it was totally, totally terrifying. Like, beasts and dark, cold, and alone. Like they're alone. They don't have any kind of grown-ups with them. So like this kind of feeling is really bad. Like, hopefully you can never experience this kind of feeling, to be alone in a place you feel lost and even lost. So interminable dawn faded the stars out, and at last light, sad gray, filtered into the shelter. Finally, they began to stir through, though still the world outside the shelter was impossibly dangerous. The maze of darkness stored into near and far, and at the high point of the sky, the cloudlet were warmed with color. A single seabird flopped upward with a horse. Imagine just a single seabird, when we first saw this island, there were a lot of birds, there were a lot of trees, there were a lot of palm trees, there were a lot of greenery. But now, just a single seabird flopped upward with a hoarse cry that was echoed presently. And something squawked, in the forest. New, now streaks of clouds near the horizon began to glow rosily, and the feathery tops of the palm were green. Now, here we have a detailed description of this kind of period, like the dawn period. Like, it is not too dark, it is not too late. You see here, so we have the author is really good in description, good at description. Ralph knelt in the entrance to the shelter and peered cautiously around him. So Ralph, knelt in the entrance. Entrance means the entrance, like the place like from which we enter. This is opposite of exit. To the shelter, and peered means he kept looking cautiously around him. Sam and Eric called them for an assembly. Like he said that quietly, I'd like you to call them to an assembly. We have a meeting. Assembly means meeting. Go on. So the twins holding till now they didn't let each other go. Like, no one of them let the other go. So till now they're holding tremendously, tremendously like to each other. They were like gripping with each other. Dared the view yard to the next shelter and spread the dreadful news. Yeah, they started saying the dreadful news, the wrong news, the bad news, the terrifying news, which is there was a beast on the mountain top, and we saw the beast. Ralph stood up and walked for the sake of dignity. Yeah, like dignity is the leader. He doesn't have to be frightened. Though with his back breaking to the platform, Biggie and Simon followed him. This is the first two to follow him. Yes. And the other boys came sneaking after. Ralph took the conch. Do you think that he's going to blow the conch? If yes, why yes? If no, why not? Remember the last time Biggie told him to blow the conch, he said no, because if I blew it and no one came, so we would lose everything and we'll turn into animals. Do you remember that? So now, do you think is Ralph going to blow the conch?
No.
No, why not?
He didn't ما صدقهمش.
No, he believed them. He believed them. But just, but if in real life, if there was a beast, okay, he shouldn't attract the
He
attention of the
shouldn't
beast.
hear.
Yeah, he shouldn't
Yes.
attract the attention of the beast to him. So Ralph took the conch from where it lay on the polished seat and held it to his lips. But then he hesitated and didn't blow. He held the shell up instead and showed it to them, and then they understood. He like held it up, and showed it to them, so that it means that we had an assembly. The rays of the sun there was fanning upward from below the horizon, swung downward to eye level. Ralph looked for a moment at the growing slice of gold that led them from the right hand and seemed to make speech possible. Yeah, now it's not dark anymore. The sun, rose. So now they started to speak. Now, like, it's not dark as it used to. It's like in the previous night. The circle of boys before him bristled with hunting spears. We handed the conch to Eric. It means he gave the conch to Eric, the nearest of the twins. We've seen the beast with our own eyes. No, we weren't asleep. Like he said that, no, it wasn't a dream. Because, remember every time you spoke about, not they, when the children spoke about beast, like Ralph and Jack said that it was just a dream, right? So he said that, no, we weren't asleep. Sam took up the story by custom. Now one conch did for both twins, for their substantial unity was recognized. Yeah, like they're twins, but like everyone dealt with them as if they were one person. So even when they had the conch, if one of them had the conch, the other one spoke. Why? Because they recognized as one all the time. So it was furry. And then like now they're describing, now at this moment they are describing the beast. They said that it was furry, there was something moving behind it. Said this is a parachute. Wings, the beast moved too. That was awful. It's kind of sat up. Yeah, it's true. Remember, like his head was risen and then, sank again between his knees, and then risen again and sank again between his knees. They saw that. They were able to see that. So the fire was bright. We just made it up. Oh, more sticks on. They were eyes, teeth, claws. We ran as fast as we could, bashed into things. The beast followed us. Did the beast follow them? No.
No.
It didn't. Now, still here, it was okay. Till here, they were right. This is exactly happened. But starting from here, it didn't happen. It was their imagination. Because like when you're afraid, when you're really afraid, like sometimes you can make up stories and you think it was real. Such stories were real, but they weren't real. He said that the beast follows them. How could the beast follow them? And the beast was just a dead person. The beast was just a dead person. Like he couldn't even help himself, not to mention to frighten others. I saw it slinking behind the trees. Like one of them said that. I saw it slinking behind the trees. Nearly touched me. All of them, like both of them are lying. Both of them are lying here. Ralph pointed fearfully at Eric's face, which was striped with scars where the bushes, yeah. Like Eric, his face was full of scars. You know scars?
Yes.
What does scars mean? Scars.
ده يعني الوش اللي كده زي اللي عليه يعني سكينة كده خبط يعني.
Excellent. Yes, very good. Like scars, like wounds. Scars, face scars. Like yeah, because you were like here, this one.
They were
they were running. Yeah, this one. You see this one? Like not this. Oops, no. like this, something like this, you know, something like
teacher,
that.
you know Al Capone?
What's Al Capone?
No, okay خلاص. He was يعني أخطر رجال العصابات، وكان عنده ديت يعني نفس الحاجة.
So this is a scar, you know, astaghfirullah. This is a scar. This is in English, we call it face scar. So Eric had a lot of scars in his face, not because of the beast, because he was running, dashing into trees. You see, he didn't pay attention to his way. That's why he had a lot of scars, right? But just, you know, they thought that such scars because of the beast. He said that, how did you do that? He said that Eric felt his face. I am all rough. Am I bleeding? Like, I'm all rough, like, you know, I feel like, you know, I feel tired. Am I bleeding? Like, is there any blood? The circle of the boys shrank away in horror, like they were afraid. Johnny, the young boy, you know, the young boy, 6-year-old boy, yawning still, burst into noisy tears again. He like every time we saw him, almost he cries, and he was slapped by Bill. Bill slapped him till he choked on them. Imagine now, Bill, he was one of the old boys. He slapped Johnny in order to keep silent because they were afraid if Johnny started crying and if there was a beast, so the beast would come and eat them. So he slapped the boy in order to keep silent. The bright morning was full of threats, and the circle began to change. It phased out rather than in, and the spears of sharpened wood were like a fence. Jack called them back to the center. So they started to move away from the circle. They were afraid. Jack asked them back to go to the center. He said that this will be a real hunt, Jack. He said that don't be afraid, don't be chicken. This will be a real hunt. We're going to hunt a huge beast. Who will come? Ralph moved impatiently. Like, you know, these spears are made of wood. Don't be silly. Like Ralph says that, are you crazy? Do you think that you would kill them with spears made of wood? Like you need something made of iron. Jack sneered at him, frightened. Like Jack told him that you're frightened, you're afraid, and you're coward. Ralph, if you were Ralph, what would you say? Like now, in front of all the boys, Jack is accusing you of being frightened because, like, you don't like to go there. And if you were Ralph, what would you say? Say that, yeah, no, of course I'm not frightened, or of course I'm frightened. If you were
I would be frightened.
Ralph here, I respected him for his honesty. He said that, of course I'm frightened. Who wouldn't be frightened? He said that, yes, for sure I'm frightened. Who wouldn't be frightened? He turned to the twins, yearning but hopeless. Yeah, I suppose you aren't pulling our legs. Like, what does it mean to pull someone's legs? We talked it before, if you remember. Like, says that I am not pulling your legs. Do you know what? What if I told you that next time we are going to have a real exam?
Oh my God, no.
Yes, I'm pulling your legs. Now I'm pulling your legs. It means like I'm not lying to you, but just, you know, I'm tricking you. So this is pulling our legs. It means that, are you tricking us? Like, is it like, you know, just kind of drama? You're tricking us. So to pull someone's legs, does it mean that to pull him in real life or to pull his or her leg in real life? No, it means that you're tricking them. He says that, I suppose you aren't tricking us. The reply was too emphatic for anyone to doubt them. He said that they were sincere, and the reply was like emphatic. They emphasized the reply that no one could ever doubt them. They were real. Like, you know, Biggie took the conch. Couldn't we kind of stay here? Biggie, maybe the beast won't come near us. Biggie, like now he begged the steps. I said that, why should we go to the beast? We can stay here. Maybe the beast won't come near us. But for the sense of something watching them, Ralph would have shouted at him. So, like, it seems, but here means if not. But here doesn't mean but yet. No, but here it means if not, the sense of something watching them, Ralph would have shouted at them. Ralph was about to shout at Biggie for saying that we should stay here. Like now he said that, stay here and be crammed into this bit of the island, always on the lookout. How should we get our food? And what about the fire? He said that, are you crazy? Would you like us to stay here and do nothing and wait for the beast to come to us?